Hi, boys and girls. Hey, I wanted to read the last couple chapters of our Magic Treehouse book, Dolphins at Daybreak, book number 9, written by Mary Pope Osborne. Before we get started today, I wanted to remind you what the clue was. Remember, they're looking for something so that they can become master librarians. So the first clue that they have of the thing they need to find, the clue is rough and gray as rock, as plain can be, but hidden deep inside, there's a great beauty in me. What am I? So remember last time when we left off, chapter 8, they had gotten out of the mini sub. Maybe it had cracked or something. They had to get out of there. And there was a hammerhead shark coming. And all of a sudden, the dolphins came and they got to ride on the backs of the dolphins. They grabbed onto their fins and the dolphins took them to shore. So chapter number 9 is called Ouch! The sun shone on the ocean. It sparkled like a diamond. Jack felt safe now. His dolphin was taking good care of him. The dolphins slowed down as they neared the reef. Jack lowered his feet. He felt the bumpy coral. He let go of the dolphin's fin and stood up in the water. Annie stood up too. Then she threw her arms around the dolphin and gave her a big hug. "Thank you, Suki," she cried, and she kissed the dolphin's nose. Suki tossed her head and clicked at Annie. "Kiss Sam now," Annie said to Jack. "You're nuts," said Jack. But Sam nuzzled Jack's head, and then he put his flippers around Jack's neck. Jack couldn't resist. He threw his arms around the dolphin and gave him a quick kiss. Sam nodded and made clicking sounds like laughter, and then he turned to Suki. The two dolphins chattered to each other for a moment, and they nodded at Jack and Annie and swam gracefully away. "Bye, Suki. Bye, Sam," Annie shouted. "Thanks," Jack shouted. The dolphins leapt high into the air, and then they dove into the water with a splash. Jack and Annie laughed. "I wish we could swim like that," said Jack. Jack and Annie watched the dolphins until they disappeared. "Oh, I miss them already," Annie said softly. "Me too," said Jack. He sat down in the shallow water. "I'm really tired," he said. Annie sat beside him. "Me too," she said. The warm water lapped around their shorts and t-shirts. Jack pulled off his pack, took out his glasses and put them on. They were blurry with water. "Guess what?" said Annie. "What?" said Jack. "I saw the shark when we were swimming," said Annie. "But I didn't tell you. I wanted you to stay calm." Jack stared at her. "I saw it too. I just swam faster so you would swim faster. And I swam faster so you would swim faster," said Annie. "I guess we swam double fast then," Jack said. And he shook his head in wonder. "What now?" said Annie. "We go home," said Jack. "But we haven't solved Morgan's riddle yet," said Annie. "Oh," Jack sighed. He pulled out his notebook out of his pack. It was soaked. He pulled out the ocean book. Ugh, it was soaked too. "We failed," he said. "My research is all wet. We'll never be master librarians now." Jack put everything away. "Let's go," he said sadly. He stood up and then started across the pink reef toward the treehouse. Annie followed him. "Ouch!" Annie said. "What's wrong?" Jack looked back. I stepped on something." Annie bent down to rub her foot. "What?" said Jack. "A shell?" "Yeah, this." And she picked up a large gray shell. "Boy, it is rough and gray as a rock." "And plain as plain can be," whispered Jack. They had found the answer. The shell looked like a clam shell, only bigger and with more ridges. "How could this ugly shell be the answer to the riddle?" said Annie. "What about the part that says, 'There's great beauty in me'?" "Wait, research," said Jack, and he opened the soaked ocean book. The pages were stuck together, but he was able to turn a few, and he found a picture of a gray shell. He read, and this part is true: "Divers search for oysters in deep water, but sometimes oysters wash up on reefs or beaches. Inside some oysters you can find a pearl. The pearl's natural beauty makes it a treasure." "Oh, it must have a pearl inside," said Jack. Annie peered into the crack between the two halves of the shell. "I can't see anything," she said. "How does a pearl get in there anyway?" Jack read aloud from the wet page, and this part is true. Sometimes a grain of sand will get between the oyster shell and its skin. This irritates the oyster, so it makes a pearly material to surround the grain of sand. In this way, over a few years, a pearl is formed. I can't tell if there's a pearl in there or not, said Annie. Maybe we should bang it against a rock, said Jack. Now that would really irritate the oyster, said Annie. Yeah, maybe we should just leave it alone, said Annie. She gently put the oyster back in the water. But how will we know if oyster is the right answer to the riddle, said Jack. Morgan said we'll know, said Annie. Come on. Jack pushed his glasses into place, and then he and Annie picked up their shoes and socks. They climbed through the window of the treehouse. Morgan's scroll was laying on the floor. It was open. Look, said Annie. She and Jack stared at the scroll. The riddle had faded away, and in its place was one shimmering silver word, oyster. Morgan's magic, whispered Annie. Jack let out a huge sigh. We got it right, he said. And here's the Pennsylvania book, said Annie. Let's go home. She opened the book. She pointed to a picture of the Frog Creek woods. I wish we could go there, she said, and the wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. The wind blew harder and harder, and then everything was still, absolutely still.